Yeah, morning everybody. It's morning and it's a breakfast kind of program that I'm holding this very morning, Saturday, the 28th of October 2017. Thank you everybody, wherever you might be watching from. Machukwu Emmanuel, I remain. It's always good once in a while to come talk with our people, get the feeling of brotherhood, get the feeling of togetherness, binding one another as a people. Although so many at times we have lots of disagreement, but that is not going to hold us back. It's not going to make us stop discussing with one another. At every given time, there are different kinds of development. Sometimes ones that moves us forward, some other times ones that are just equivalent to what I keep saying here. One step forward, two steps backwards. But at this time, we are not holding anybody to any sort of examination whatsoever. What we're only saying is reminding our people that we are at a very critical time at this very point, that each and every one of you out there should be careful what you are going through as at this very time. But this morning, we are getting information about another arrangement right now that is being made with the mobbing, the same mobbing Biafra movement of Biafrans in Nigeria, and now the APUGA. I just got the information this morning. They sent it to me also on WhatsApp, just like I think they have also circulated the information through other mediums. For me, if you've been following me, you see that I am not so positive about whatever the mobbing is about to do this very election season. Likewise, I am not critical about what they're doing. My position remains, it's right to vote, but I can't tell you who to vote. So it's been a hard one that I leave this up to each and every one of you out there to make this decision. And I wish that God is going to help you make the right decisions on what to do within the this Anambra election. First of all, I'd like to read out the statement that Barrister Emeka Esiri made on this very respect. The respect of having a new agreement right now with APUGA. APUGA to be the adapted party to run the Anambra election. This information, like I said, I got it this morning on my WhatsApp from the Director General of the mobbing herself, Sister Rita Nibogo. At the same time, I got it also through Barrister Emeka Esiri. So it's confirmed the information about where they stand at this point in time. I've spoken with our sister the other time, trying to know exactly what is going on. She tried to give me a kind of reassurance that they believe that there must be something they have to do, which I believe one don't. If you are in the field of play, even if you are on the losing side, you don't give up, you keep fighting. So although we just went through a rough, very rough dealing or situation with what happened, the mobbing and the UPP, it's not going to stop them from fighting on to see what's going to be done. But the most important thing is, how well are you going to do whatever you want to do? How careful are you doing whatever you want to do? How positive are you doing what you want to do? I spoke with our sister. According to, I'm not critical about anything right now. I'm open. I'm just there watching. But I didn't accept to her own concept of the matter that we have to go into any other political arrangement with any other political party out there. And she gave me her convictions. I left it on a neutral basis. This morning, she, according to the promise she gave to me, that they are going to come up with way forward, which is what I am seeing this morning. APUGA being the adopted platform now for the mobbing to run the Anambra election. We don't know how far this contract is going to go. We don't know whether this contract is going to run for throughout the political, whether that has become now a firm agreement that it's with Apuga that the Biafra movement is going to be transported throughout the rest of the Biafran local communities. So, which includes the states, all you have to do about our place, you know. So I'll read what Emeka Esiri, let's read what Emeka Esiri wrote in that respect.
Mobin adopts APGA for Anambra Guber polls press release of the movement of Biafra in Nigeria. Mobin, the governing council of movement of Biafrans in Nigeria, Mobin, in its commitment to revolutionary changes in the governance of Biafra land, and in its uncompromising determination to ensure that justice, fairness, and truth prevail in our nation so that we can have a strong regional voice in governance leading to nationhood, has resolved as follows. That our entry into the Nigerian politics as Biafran activists working as the mobilization agency for one political party in the past has given us the required experience in politics for the benefit of the Biafran self-determination project. 2. That Mobin, and indeed the 70 million Biafrans scattered across the world who believe in our methodology of self-determination consisting of legal, political, and diplomatic strategies, will work with existing governments that are sympathetic to the Igbo cause, to strengthen their efforts and achieve our goals. In this regard, Mobin has studied the situation critically and decided to work with the All Progressive Grand Alliance, APGA, as the most reliable Igbo party in the country by our assessment, and of course, the most successful political party in the nation.
You know, in every time I do, my own is always, I ask my questions, I try to get the answers from what I read, from what I listen people say, and most importantly, from my common sense. You have to ask, when did Mobin come to this realization that it's now Apuga? This was after careful studying of the political system in Nigeria as at when we adopted the political system. That means before this very contract, even before the UPP, there must have been a general assessment of what the Nigerian politics looks like. You study which of the parties, which is why we came to the adopting of UPP. How come we didn't know that Apuga, that was also originally owned by the same UPP, Chekwa Sokorie, what calculation was misconstrued, what calculations were not accurately or adequately made that led to adopting UPP, only to come at the very later stage to recognize what we should have known? Or are we just pandering, beating about the bush, trying to lay hand wherever we can without real adequate considerations of all this, or what we should really do? That is why I say I remain skeptical. I remain completely free, and I remain completely clear of anything that has to do with the election of this Anambra gubernatorial election, this Anambra time. And also, we have nothing to do with the political means if some questions are not answered. If we don't come to asking ourselves the hard question, if tomorrow the mobbing succeeds in putting in their candidate, which is now Willie Obiano as the candidate, I don't know how he will be more Biafran than he was before. I don't know what the agreement is going to. Yes, of course, it happens. Reaching an agreement, of course, means negotiations, and negotiations means people giving in to something. Sometimes they don't believe, trying to make it a kind of bargain. So maybe the bargain with or this negotiation or this agreement with the mobbing was reached by a handsome, good bargain with the mobbing that will lead to some softening of points, that Willie Obiano will be more positive to the Biafran issue than he has ever been. Yeah, we can say that. But the fact remains, we have to be careful while we are making decisions. Like I told my sister, I cannot, sometimes when you do things, it turns around, you might be doing them for best of reasons, but if you don't take time about the timing of those things, the exactly what is outside there, what the narrative outside there is, you might jeopardize your own relevance, you might jeopardize your own ability to be taken serious by other people when things go against you in a way that people might think it's your fault or it was done for a reason. We continue to read the statement released by the chairman of Mobbing, Barrister Emeka Siri, as the reason why now they are adopting APOGA today as a party that we should all follow behind to achieve, I don't know as at this point whether it's to achieve the Anambra election or to achieve our political consign or arrangement with the Biafra struggle. Let's go on.
3. Mobin will assist All Progressive Grand Alliance, APGA, and Gov. Willie Obiano to win Anambra State 2017 governorship election. 4. To this end, we have identified a number of advantages that APGA has over other parties. It is specially designed, structured, and mandated to defend and develop the Igbo man and the Igbo nation. Hence it was adopted by Chief Chukwuemeka Odumegwu of blessed memory to be the ideal party for us Biafrans living in Nigeria. It does not only enjoy the advantage of incumbency, being the party in power, but also has proven to be the most progressive party not just in the southeast.
Sorry, the mention had a little cup there. We are going to release it and we are continuing to read for you. This statement you're hearing is an official statement released by the Mobbing this morning. I don't know whether this was yesterday, but I got it this morning about their stance now to follow APOGA as the alliance party for the Biafra movement to succeed this very 2017 gubernatorial election. We are still looking into where they will go from there, whether this party is going to carry us all along or we are only going to use them for this very, it's a kind of contract for this very time. It's not still known. I don't think even the Mobbing have the answer to this for a particular point, because if you watch what happened with the UPP contract and the Mobbing contract, you'll find out that there could always be changes. There could always be a different kind of understanding coming up tomorrow. There can always be disappointment from one area to another, which is why I am always concentrated on getting to the bottom of the first confusion before you scare up another thing we not know where it's going to lead us to. I still believe that there is cause to settle about what happened, the APOGA, the UPP Mobbing arrangement. Get over that, understand it, have a message to counter whatever somebody will say we or the Mobbing did wrong. But I don't think that Mobbing have anything to counter when everybody can say, yeah, I answered the question. You can always have something to say when somebody asks you a question. But the real thing is, did you get the answer correct? Did you really convince who or people who really want to know something from you? There's always answer. We know there's always a right answer, there's always a wrong answer. So people who answer questions should be concerned more. Did I convince the people who really want to get this concerned? So I ask Mobbing officials questions every day about what exactly are we going to do? What is the message we are going to use in convincing people that what happened APOGA, what just transpired UPP, what might happen now with the APOGA will not happen again. There's always an answer. I always get answers, but believe you me, And like I also know from my own listeners, my own audience, those answers are not convincing anybody. The mobbing should be aware of it. Giving an answer doesn't mean you've won the case. You give an answer, it's left for people to make the consideration of what answer you are giving. And also, always listening to people who always say yes to you doesn't mean you have the greater hand. It's always very easy for you to get circle of people around you for 5 kilometers of a distance, 20 kilometers of a distance, even in the whole wide world, but you have your own small group who will always respond positively to you. If you always remain in this bubble, if you always find yourself getting your response on whatever your argument or your part of the opinion is on general matters like this, you always consist on this your bubble to get reactions, you will be making mistakes. Sometimes you get out of your bubble. Sometimes you try to go over to the other side to understand, look at it from a different angle. Maybe you will be coming up to understanding why people feel the way they feel. Why people don't seem to take your answers as a yes. Because there is no accountability process. We know this right from the beginning of 1999 when Owazirike started this. This very accountability problem is what brought the differences that started pulling people away. First of all, the BLC, before other people joined, move away from the Owazirike camp till we are where we are today. It's all about accountability. Oh no, this man is putting the whole money into his own pocket. He's not doing the will of the people. We are contributing. He is lying to us. He can't tell us. He's just one poor man yesterday. Now look at the mansions. There was no accountability. People started feeling otherwise. Some people started bouncing out because they have found a business model. Other people start bouncing out because they feel that is a no-go area. The same accountability problem when Nnamdi Kanu started again with Barrister Emeka Series, Steve Gekpa, and again Bawada Marachi, all of them in London. That same accountability problem is the same accountability problem that scattered and divided everybody today. That is why we see the infighting, that is why we see the threats, that is why we see the insults, that is why the social media now has become the battleground, and our bullets and fighting materials are the insults and the threats that we relinquish to ourselves. It's all about not being able to hold ourselves accountable. And that same lack of accountability at this time that we wish to channel our efforts to that very means that have been deemed taboo. You know, these political means as at that 2011, 2012, everybody, even the very IPOB, or let me say under the Supreme Council of Elders, now adapting the political means, even the Nnamdi Kanu IPOB, every position you look at as at 2011, 2012 said that the political means was a taboo. Everybody understood it. But yeah, you know, sometimes it's like that. Sometimes you close the door, sometimes you open the doors for reasons. Let's say it was closed because of the same thing. Why remember why that door was closed for that very long time was because of the same Apuga, this same Apuga, what they did. And it was also because of the same man, Chekwas Okoro, who was owing the same Apuga as at that time. That was why. After what happened the Apuga days, it took a long period of time. We saw it when the heat of this very agitation started, sometime 2011, 2012, 2013. The use or even the mention of the word political means into the struggle was a taboo to everyone. This was as a result of what transpired the Apuga days. Nobody had, because there was no message. There was no accountability nobody can be able, the same accountability, nobody here, Chekwas Okori, accountable for those days. They didn't prepare any message to say, yes, while this was done, this is what was our reaction to it. This was how people paid for being so silly to the movement. Nothing like that took place. So the only thing we could do was to name or deem it as taboo. Nobody spoke about it. Nobody used it. Everybody denounced that very political system as a plausible means to look for our movement, our freedom. Despite the fact that right inside our truth of truth, our heart, we know that political means is a legitimate way to do that. But because nobody had the answers, nobody had any message to counter what just happened, they still feel the grief. They were also feeling the panic. Everybody saw it as, our people could never be trusted to do with the political means. We decided to say, okay, it is a taboo. Then when the going gets tough, you have to check your doors, even the closed ones. You have to see where you have opportunities, chances. A lot of things happen, and the people in this very struggle, I will tell you, yeah, sometimes because of necessity is the mother of invention. People invent or go back to what they have left because of positions they find themselves. I know, I can tell you, there's a lot of things that happened why Emeka so fast had to initiate the political means. The mobbing had to be rolled out. I can wholeheartedly tell you here, and maybe they'll come, they say it's lies, but God knows, and they know it from their heart of heart, that mobbing wasn't to come as at this very time. I know that, right? Being someone who has been following the procedures, that is why I think they should slow down. It's not late. If Anambra is, we have been suffering this Biafra thing for a long time. It doesn't start and end with Anambra election. It's better you do things rightfully and do them correctly. You do them with length of time, do them correctly, than try to rush them and do them wrongly. Like I'm saying, if not the problem that came between the leadership of Bilie Human Rights Initiative, you will not be seeing mobbing today. Don't tell me I'm wrong. If you tell me I'm wrong, you are fooling your own mind. You are trying to justify your failure. Because I know it, and you know it. People who are close to what I'm saying knows it. The organizer, the generators of all these notions of all what is transferred knows it. If it's not the problem between that came inside the Bilie organization, we will not be having mobbing so soon. Maybe mobbing will take 2019 or whenever to come out, or will never even be there today. So we know how and why mobbing is there. And I don't say it's bad. That's why I say conditions, something. Necessity is the mother of invention. Sometimes you invent something that might be harmful, sometimes the necessity invents something that might be very wonderful, useful. So we only need to know what has this necessity brought us to. The need that Emeka Esiri had to be somewhere to control something because he's a good head. He is a good initiator of so many ideologies that we are following today. The need that he has to operate on some fundamental structure. That's why you have mobbing. Mobbing rushed into an agreement with UPP. Fine agreement. Mobbing itself as an organization that was born out of this necessity was a plausible one also. It brought back our consciousness. It brought back the reality of what we should be doing, political frontier, to pursue our goal. Mobbing brought all these things back. Mobbing at the same time went to a vector, which is the same appropriate thing to do, to look for, in as much as they are not a registered political party, and according to what it means, a political movement for the Biafran people, then we have to find a political party to attach the mobbing to. Yeah, mobbing did that quite all right. We went into doing that also with the best we think we could. I don't know who in Apoga today is in this Council of Elders, but in the UPP, where mobbing had an agreement, there was an element, that not even an element, there was a very good and solid chance that that was it. a member of the Supreme Council of Elders, owned the party UPP. Apoga was still there. As at the time the contract for the UPP mobbing was made, Apoga was still existing. Apoga existed before UPP in the first place. Apoga was also the first convoyer of this very Biafran struggle. Why didn't we move with Apoga at that time? Why do we now choose UPP? It's because everything mobbing was doing was accurate. They had to watch the system. So that's why I so much question this very statement that is coming up this morning, that is another review. What again did you have to review? After the first revelation, you did everything you did to find out that yes, the Apoga can no longer go because Apoga has disappointed us. Okay. Now we have Chekwa Sokorie, who is a member of the Supreme Council of Elders, having another party called the UPP, coming out to give us reasons why he even despite of Apoga. Because Apoga, according to what we know, they took Apoga away from him. Apoga is so corrupt. Apoga did this and that and that and that. That is why today we still have followed that man, Chekwa Sokorie, the very nice man of Biafra, who had that same party, who was a man who had also that idea to lift this Biafra movement, be the very first party, Apoga, before it was stolen away from him. So what do the Biafra people do? We have sympathy. We say, okay, let's go. If you look at it, you don't have any much question to ask. Because there is nothing you could ask in this, because it's a well-done arrangement. A Supreme Council of Elders. Those days of Africa, there was no Supreme Council of Elders. There was no such arrangement. So there was everything that could go wrong. But in these days, you say nothing will go wrong. Because the same man who said they cheated him, they did him, he formed Africa, and it was taken away from him. So we call the other people criminals. Like we know they are Nigerian criminals who took away what our brothers solidly built for Biafra. We followed him, we criticized the other people, they are criminals. So right now our brother is back here with us, a member of the Supreme Council, and he have another party. Wow, what a big shot he is, always ready and possible making this happen. We welcomed it. But what happened? What happened? My problem is not, if I will still make the same kind of maybe mistake or the mobbing did, by going into maybe oral agreement or an agreement that is not well vetted, doesn't have much lawful or rigid, just do it carelessly because you believe, what can ever go wrong? You cannot. Everybody will make that mistake. You will do that agreement with the benefit of that UPP with Chekwa Sokorie, nothing goes wrong. So I don't blame you on that front at all. But where I start to blame mobbing, where I keep on telling mobbing, where I continue and will continue, is after you found out that you've been cheated. We were just robbed. We have to sit back. You said what? We were just robbed? By who? We were robbed by Chekwa Sokorie and UPP. What the hell? Chekwa Sokorie again with UPP? How could that be? When we thought Chekwa Sokorie was robbed. We thought Chekwa Sokorie was robbed of his party. We had sympathy with our brother. How can we be robbed by Chekwa when he's in the... Now, okay. Let's take it step by step. I can't believe that we can be robbed by Chekwa Sokorie just because he is a member of the government of Biafra. That makes it practically impossible to believe that he can get away with it. Okay, he can rob us, but he cannot get away with it. Not this time. They say first fool, no be fool. Second fool, now he be proper foolish. If mobbing does this and think that by just jumping into the same old wagon of train that was condemned, and now again we are being told that wow, it's from 1 minute to on the other, it became a wonderful trainer again. If mobbing think they are getting it right, well, I don't want to criticize, like I said. I don't want to be I'm somebody, when I say it, my God always knows and signs it okay. Sometimes when I say these things, sometimes it becomes revelations before I say them. Sometimes when I say them, they become ticked to happen. So I don't want to criticize mobbing because I love the people who operate for mobbing. Because you know why? Because I see their mind somewhat. I can see 80% of their mind. Some have 70% of their mind set for the freedom of Biafra. I know the challenges they are going through. As these our brothers and sisters working in mobbing also are living in that environment you call Nigeria, which as bad as the fire, and they themselves becoming the yams living inside that fire. They have they can't. It's quite difficult. I know there are a lot of people who have some kind of waterproofs or fireproofs, so to say. That is difficult. That is where you know who the people and white, not just like the banga white and white, and you are running away from the fire. These are people who are living, working with the system. The system is rough. The system is condemned. The system is dirty. The system is deluded. So if you see any of these our brothers, sisters who are doing and working with these political means, they have to go through hell if they are going to come out white. But I pray for them every day because I know they're doing the most difficult job than what I'm here, sitting down here talking. But it will pay them very good if they also listen to the voice in the wilderness and also resist some kind of, try to be strong. I know it's not easy. It's not easy at all. But if you're in this mission, you have to make it easy for yourself by standing strong, or else you commit yourself by not being truthful. So I know it's not easy. I commend this, our brothers, all our sisters who are fighting for the benefit of the nation Biafra. Meanwhile, I lost a little bit track of where I was exactly. You know, these things come completely full. So I'm going to get back to my words when I get them back into my fucking head. You know, when a lot of things are into this brain, they go a little bit shattered. So now let's go back to what Emeka Siri, what the mobbing really said is their idea of joining Apuga.
And all Igbo land, but in the whole country called Nigeria. So invariably, APGA is still the best performing party in both Biafra and Nigeria. Asterisk, it is the only party that has been able to achieve 100% efficient developmental governance without the presence of the federal government. It has not only done this but has also beaten the records of the current federal government party, and the former one. In other words, Anambra is the only state that has remained in the forefront of economic, educational, infrastructural, and social development without enjoying the comforts of a federal government assistance. 5. Having studied Anambra State, we have come to the conclusion that no other party can replicate what is going on at the moment in terms of development. In its 12 years in power, this political party, without a single support from the federal government, by managing to hold on to power, has been able to make the state the most developed in the southeast in terms of infrastructure. 6. Anambra State today is the most business-friendly state in the region, and has the largest network of roads. Even though a state with a very young state capital at Aka, the capital is the most modern capital city, beating all other states much older in terms of aesthetics. Before the coming of the government of APGA, a city like Onitsha, one of the largest business cities in the country, was also the one with the poorest roads network. It was also adjudged the most violent-prone city in a den of crooks. The coming of APGA government changed all that. Today, Onitsha, which is the entry point into the southeast, has become a pride of all the Igbo people and indeed, the pride of all Biafrans.
If I should just give one reason, just one reason why we should listen to this, what Morbin is saying. The only one reason I can find justifiable in my head is just to make sure that Osita Chidoka doesn't go there. Not because I have any personal problem with Chidoka, but because he is a nominee from UPP. We just need to make it work as our basics, one basis of a standing point where you can hold hand and say, yes, after Chekwas did that, we made sure that his party never got the Anambra election. It can be a talking point. That's the only reason, I think, the only satisfactory reason you can say, what is Morbin really talking about? But for me, it could have been also better for Morbin to completely stay clear. I know the difficulties in what I'm saying because it has a lot to do with you fighting empty stomach. If you stay clear of the election, the Morbin directors, officials, we have nowhere or no support from anybody within this time, and we know what election time is all about. It's the heart. That is the time these people who go in there to become the criminals, this is the time they play the most ball in order to get to inside the office, first of all. So a lot of people win a lot of things by a lot of kind of situations, by lying. Tell them what they need to hear. That's what this time is all about in Nigeria. Just tell them what they need to hear. They do what you want. So I think the only reason why we should listen to this is because we just want to defeat UPP at all costs, irrespective of whatever it takes. I believe that that should be the only cause why anybody, the only reason why anybody who will be joining APGA to form a unified, solid position there will do that. But I will never advise anybody to do that. I still believe that right now, what stands is, in my heart is, what is the need to vote if we have nobody to vote for? You can exercise your own right in any way you want. You can exercise your own right by anger. By showing anger, you are not voting that bullshit. Whatever becomes, if they like, let them choose and pick their president or their governor. It depends on what you feel you are going to gain from your vote, what it means to you. So in this time, I'm not the best person to advocate on what people should do at this time, as long as it concerns voting or not voting in this Anambra election. But I can tell the Biafran people the best, what they can do or be looking up to gain back, first of all, reputation. Is you know, our people are careless about, oh, they don't know that reputation, they don't know that some of the things happening to all this movement is because of reputation. You, like what I said, you think you have just spoken. You think you have just spoken. You have just answered the question. But do you really think you have convinced the people? Reputation is on the line. The reputation of the Biafra movement, and especially the reputation of moving politically, is at stake here. It is justifiable. It's a plausible means, but we have abused it. And if we don't we're trying to clean up the abuse, the Morbin will be rubbed into the same shit. There's nobody that is inevitable here. There's nobody that is above turning into mud in this very effect, in this very struggle. And it's a little misunderstanding, miscalculation that will rob you in mud. But our people don't care much. You know, reputation doesn't mean a lot. They don't care about it. They don't want to know what happens with their name tomorrow, in as much as they get what they want today. That is why also Africa will lack a lot of what we lack today, because we think only about me. Some people talk about generation without even considering that generation. Am I going to be there then? That one concerns the children where we go on that time. That is the highest mindset of every black man. And that is why we are lacking behind. That is why we don't look into the future. That is the difference between the white man and the black man. The white man think about me and now I'm living. If I die, that talk for generation concern them. And that is why we are suffering what we are suffering, because our fathers never thought about us, what will happen to us. That is why we have to be here running, we that are outside Nigeria. And that is why those that are inside Nigeria are suffering what they are suffering, because nobody thought about them. The white people, their fathers, their generation, their forefathers thought about them. You know what they did for them? They came and enslaved us because of their children. Today we say, hey, they are bad. But they saw that the world will only move to their own favor if they fight for their next generations to come. They came to us. They understood that they have to fight for those that will represent them tomorrow, that will make the name of whatever land they are today the greatest, the number one, the number two, not the number three, as we are known today as we started the civilization, but today we are known as the third world country. What a shame. You know why? Because our forefathers have no, I don't know, they care only about me, the same thing. It's always like that. It's still happening up to now. Still happening up to now. Our people pretend it, talk about it, generation, oh, it's for the next generation. And they okay, I go on. I don't know, but it's unfortunate. We keep reading what the Mekese said. I don't know, even the machine stopped to read, because the machine already see all this as bullshit. My machine automatically stopped to read because it doesn't see no reason. Sometimes I'll try to be gentle to the moves that are being made by our people.
It is also on record that Onitsha has become the best in terms of roads and highways today in the whole southeast. Not only that, the best roads network in the country is right in Anambra State. This uncommon transformation took place under 12 years and was perfected by an ordinary regional party, APGA. No federal government assisted them. It's a feat the Biafrans cannot ignore. 8. It is also on record that Anambra is the only state that never witnessed the recession. It is also on record that in less than 4 years, the current administration has added N51 billion IGR to the N40 billion generated by the previous administration. Anambra is top among states that do not owe salaries in the country. This is a state that does not take loans, neither is it reckoned among the oil-producing states. 9. Anambra is the only state in Nigeria that, aside from providing support for government schools, also extends such support to privately owned schools. Due to this, Anambra for some years now, is always rated among the top 3 in all national certificate examinations every year consecutively. 10. Women in governance. It is also expedient to mention that APGA is the only party in Nigeria that has ever produced a female governor in the history of this country in the person of Her Excellency, Dame Lady Virginia Nshiaba. This also happened right in Anambra. This is the state that comes first in all good things. 11. For these reasons, Anambra is a leader in industrialization, trade, and commerce, and of course, indigenous investments. The government provided a comfortable business environment for all these to happen. 12. Only an effective government like Obiano's will be able to localize leadership for Ndi Igbo and Biafrans and develop an acceptable system that will give Biafrans satisfactory blueprints akin to what is obtainable in prosperous nations across the globe. 13. Biafrans will continue to pursue self-determination and freedom, but since we are still in Nigeria, we shall employ the laws of the country, and exercise our civic rights as citizens to pursue these goals. We know we shall win because God is on our side. 14. Permit me also to say that at this point in time, the political pursuit for the freedom of Biafra has been activated, and that is what we in Mobin are pursuing. Mobin is the only political movement for all Biafrans applying the strategies of law, politics, and diplomacy for self-determination. We will work with this formula until our overall goals are achieved. 15. Therefore, in pursuing these goals, we hereby remind our 70 million Biafrans across the globe that Ojukwu pursued to a logical conclusion his goals for Biafra by employing the political alternative, not once but all the time. He didn't abandon politics totally, as it's on record that he contested for the Senate and presidency. Certainly, he knew where power resided. 16. We are rising up now like other emerging nations out there, Scotland, Catalonia, and Kurdistan, to pursue this beautiful goal of nationhood through the ballot. 17. In conclusion, let me express much gratitude to the Director General of Mobin, Mrs. Rita Ebereka-Kuyu Enigbagu, Ada Biafra, and all the indefatigable directors and officers of Mobin, for their unflinching loyalty and dedication to our self-determination project for Biafra. 18. On behalf of the Governing Council of Mobin, I call on all the Biafran elders, women, men, youths, students, workers, and traders to join hands with us. Let us now support the efforts of our men who have labored for over 50 years on this path. We salute Lady Bianca Ojukwu, wife of the first leader of the modern Biafran movement, for her untiring efforts to bring good governance our way. I salute you, my learned friend and sister, and pledge that, as we join hands today, we shall together build a stronger political force. 19. We are the Biafrans in politics in Nigeria, and the glory of the Igbo nation, and indeed, the glory of the whole Biafra land, shall be restored in this generation. God bless all lovers of freedom. Signed, Emeka Emekiziri, ESQ, Chairman of Mobin.
Yeah, and that's it. This is the statement that we got this morning. I got it from our sister Rita Anibog, who was also mentioned there on that very piece. Before this statement was released, I spoke with her a few days ago. I tried to get exactly what Mobin is up to. I knew this was coming, but I didn't know with which party they were about to make this agreement. I did not ask exactly what was in the making because I had no interest to know, because I will not, as at this point, I am not confirming or adopting or applauding any political party, or neither am I also asking anybody not to be a party to the election, because I know it's a good thing for everyone to vote, to make sure you help in choosing the people who make our living difficult. Because in case of Nigeria, they are helping choosing people who are making their life difficult. I'm sorry it is that way in Nigeria, but that's the reality of it. We have to accept it as the reality because that's what is obtainable. You can't say otherwise about what Nigerian, what do you call them, leaders do when they get into the seat of leadership. It's all about making the life of the people they govern more and more difficult. Only because they know that tomorrow, with a bag of rice and tomatoes and some kind of one day cash, they will be able to sway these people again whenever they come knocking. So what are they going to do? They can't run away from the situation. You leave it in, day out. So ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, that's the information coming into my desk this morning. I will say, I don't know what it means to you, but for me, it just really did not make any difference in my mind, in my soul. But at the same time, I am commending with with very little resistance. I commend the job that our sister they are doing there based on this very. But for me, this is not what I wish they could have been doing. This is not where I think the best belt is, because as we know now, what is happening, the Biafra movement and the Nigerian government. If you check where we are today, you'll find out that what is about to happen, or what should happen in Nigeria, the best thing that will happen in Nigeria as a country is restructuring, as at this point, where we still hold our last resort as our main goal. Biafra in the next 14 to 21 years is very possible. It's very easy, and it's the best thing that will happen to us if we will get restructured and walk down through our path gradually and peacefully. But there might be also that is going to be dangerous for us, because that will mean retaining the evil souls and the bloody hearts that are occupied all over the vicinity of Nigeria as a whole. But where, like, it's going to be, the Nigerian government is not going to adhere to that very restructuring. They are going to excuse the pattern that is much more acceptable only by God, but not by human. Because to human, it's going to be bloody, it's going to be sweeping, it's going to look very, very sorrowful to some families, because people are really going to meet the doom that will befall Nigeria 2018. To sweep the environment for the emergence of Biafra with the people, the souls that are meant to live in peace. It's a very difficult one for people to understand this very aspect of the struggle. It's not just about what we can do, what we are doing, but think about the aspect that you have is unstoppable, those ones that are naturally done. Because in everything we're doing in life, whether we're doing it our time, whether we have our duties to perform in every event, there is always the cost, the side of it that is going to be natural. And we have a lot of them now, a lot of that kind of path, destined and planned by the Lord Almighty. The areas and the aspect where he's going to come and perform just for the purity, for the satisfaction of the kind of land Biafra is going to be. That's why the very impossibility, because I know the Nigerian government, the Northerners, make it possible for God's own way to become the only alternative, because they are not going to accept restructuring, which is the only thing that could make Nigeria peaceful, steady, a little bit progressive till the time Biafra will eventually at last come, which will be in the next 14 to 21 years. The mistake about the people who are thinking about Biafra every day is the mistake of them thinking of a Biafra of 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years from now. That Biafra is the Biafra that will never come. We have no time for such rubbish of a Biafra. A Biafra that will come in the next 1 year. A Biafra that will come in the next 2 years. A Biafra that will come in the next 3 years is the one that Somalia will be better than. And we have no time to waste for such rubbish. If such Biafra is to come, better we stop that Biafra from coming and inject only that catastrophe that will purify the land of Nigeria generally, that will happen in a period of 2 years, 2018 to 2019, or 2020, or 2021. You know the irony of life, you know, the preventers, people who prevent something. We all know that prevention is better than cure. But you know the people who suffer more are the people who are the preventers, sometimes are being accused of being the liars, because when they prevent, when you in this case, I don't know, prevention is when you foresee something, you talk about that thing, and people takes precaution, and that thing that you foresee doesn't happen again. You prevented it by speaking up and letting people take another measures as to prevent it. Sometimes, because that thing did not happen, people who don't understand will call you a liar for saying it in the first place, because you said something that is about to happen, then people took measures, did otherwise, and that will never come to pass. Automatically, you're a liar, because what you said never happened at the long run. So sometimes, those who rule us knows what is about to happen, and know that they might become liars if they put in front. They believe. Now, that is where cure comes in. We know prevention is better than cure, but cure is praised more than prevention, because cure is seen as the answer to a situation that is completely dangerous at a particular time. You solve that problem, you become a hero, because the problem was there and you stopped it. But not minding that problem might have caused some dangers that if prevented, couldn't have been there in the first place. If prevented, couldn't have happened. People might have not died because it was prevented. But who initiated that prevention might be seen as a liar, because what he predicted never happens. But if he leaves it to happen, then comes in to become the cure for that, to become the cure for that thing that is happening. He becomes a hero, because people see some dangerous situation that was quenched by somebody like this. And that is the measures, that is the principle the government of the nations are taking. It's better that you see them as the heroes than to challenge the unknown. It's a very difficult one. It's a very difficult situation. And that is what we are going by in so many aspects of our thinking, our life, in our dealings. It doesn't repeat itself in the same similar ways. It comes in different dimensions. It comes in different aspects of our lives, dealings, actions. So sometimes it's very confusing, because sometimes it becomes the comparison of apples and oranges. And sometimes you think it's a comparison of apples and oranges where it is completely adequate. It makes complete sense. So sometimes it is difficult. And I believe that is the only reason, your only advisor you should have in anything you're dealing with in life today should be the Holy Spirit. It's difficult. The knowledge of wisdom is one that you can't read it from books. You can't learn it from somebody telling you. There's no professor to that. You can get intelligence, you can get smart, you can get brilliant by what you read, hear, see from people, communications, but you don't get wisdom from that. Don't let them misquote or keep telling us this thing, that education is wisdom. It is not. Or you both so much confuse their own language in order to confuse you, that so many of them even no longer know the meaning or the spellings of their own words. Believe me. Education is not wisdom. You can only quantify it as being artificial wisdom. And that is why it is education. It is knowledge passed from one to another. But wisdom is not passed from one to another. Wisdom is passed from the Holy Spirit to another, to you. And you cannot pass a wisdom that is already your wisdom to another, because it can't become his wisdom. No, wisdom doesn't work like that. Wisdom works on individual basis. It's not a transferable power or knowledge. It's not wisdom you're talking about. If you're given wisdom by the superior Almighty, it's a wisdom that works with your own mentality, your faith, your cleanliness in heart, who you are, why the wisdom came to you in the first place, works with everything that you are made up of. It doesn't have, it has your name. It's just like your name. You don't give your name to another person. You don't transfer it for a particular time or for a number of days or forever to somebody else. So when people, the white man, keep on telling us education is wisdom, I just ask people to go back to look at their most educated men and women, their most respected individuals. Sometimes come up to be their leaders. Their leaders are so rich, they are so educated. They are people they respect and hold to high esteem always. But when they want to sweat them into the seat of power, they ask for wisdom. They pray for God to give them wisdom to be able to take care of whatever their office is going to be. Why then ask for wisdom if it was knowledge? Because most of these people are highly educated. They have already wealth. If they have everything that we think that they told us is wisdom, if education is wisdom, and these people are already wise, are already educated to the highest level, if money is wisdom, like so many people want us all people in our own Igbo sense, is person who have money now is wise also. Even if he steals, that stealing is a mark of being wise, to steal, get money, and then he's wise. We believe all this is wisdom. But if it's wisdom, why does all this President Donald J. Trump the other day, who is a learned man, who is a wealthy man, why did the American people have to pray for wisdom, for him to have wisdom, if he already have it? It means education, all that he have, his richness, his education was no wisdom. They understand it. But when they come to the lower standard of your life, they confuse you with this thing so that you get completely carried. A lot of, and you know, the people who make the most nasty argument out there is this our own people who think they have gained that wisdom, the Africans who think they have gained wisdom by their educational background. They are the people who will first of all come and disqualify what I'm saying and tell me, who are you to say this? After all, you do not even go to, you are not a doctorate degree holder, you are not a this and that, because they believe that that is just everything about who a human being should be. They are so wise. And we see the wisdom of even our own people who are doctors and engineers and all what have you got today, who are also leading our struggle for Biafra. That's also wise people, according to what they want us to know. But they have no solution to the common sense questions. You start to think about that. What kind of a wise man we don't have a solution to a common sense question. So, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, we have come actually to a 1 minute standpoint since I started. I think a 1 minute and 5 seconds right now. 1 hour 5 minutes. Sorry, that we are 5 seconds. Yeah, we have run now. So I'm stopping the broadcast so far to have my time again. For other, it's 12 sharp 12 o'clock. So, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, God be with you all that will have tried to stay with me this 1 hour period. We'll be coming back anytime today. We have the time today, Saturday. We can do a lot of things today. We can do tomorrow. We can do as time permits, but we have other things also to do. God bless you all. And you are all blessed.